Think your garden's your castle? Think again. Right now, 15 plants sitting innocently in British gardens carry penalties that'll shock you. Unlimited fines, even prison. Some look harmless, pretty even, sold in garden centres until recently. Others? They're ecological nightmares, devaluing your property and threatening native wildlife. The law's deadly serious. Plant the wrong species and you're breaking the Wildlife and Countryside Act. Facing prosecution from DEFRA, the Environment Agency, even your own neighbours. Today I'm walking you through every illegal plant you absolutely cannot grow in Britain and why ignorance won't save you in court. This is the plant that strikes fear into homeowners and mortgage lenders across Britain. Japanese knotweed isn't illegal to have on your property, but it is absolutely illegal to plant it or cause it to grow in the wild. Under Schedule 9 of the Wildlife and Countryside Act 1981. This innocent-looking plant grows through concrete, tarmac, and building foundations like they're made of paper. If you've got it on your land, you're legally obligated to prevent it spreading beyond your boundaries. And if it escapes to neighbouring properties, you can be sued for thousands of pounds in damages. What people don't realise is that disposing of it incorrectly lands you with fines up to £5,000 or criminal prosecution. The presence of knotweed can devalue your property by tens of thousands and make it unmortgageable. DEFRA and the Environment Agency require disposal by licensed operators only. People have been successfully sued for letting knotweed spread from their land. Those towering plants with massive white umbrella-like flowers might look spectacular along British riverbanks, but giant hogweed is genuinely dangerous to human health. It's illegal to plant, grow, import or sell under invasive species rules enforced by DEFRA. The sap contains toxic chemicals called furanocoumarins that cause severe burns and blistering when exposed to sunlight. Children have been hospitalised after brushing against giant hogweed during countryside walks, and the burns leave permanent scars lasting years. The difference between this and common hogweed is critical. Giant hogweed grows up to 5 metres tall with distinctive purple blotches on its stems. While it's not illegal to have it on your land, you must not allow it to spread, and it's classified as controlled waste under regulations. If you find giant hogweed on your property, you need specialist contractors wearing protective clothing to remove it safely. Attempting DIY removal can put you in hospital. Those tall plants with pink hooded flowers might look pretty along riverbanks, but Himalayan Balsam is illegal to plant in the wild under Schedule 9 of the Wildlife and Countryside Act 1981. This is another plant that seemed harmless when first introduced, but has become an invasive nightmare across British waterways. Each plant produces up to 800 seeds that explode outward when touched, hence the common name policeman's helmet, and they spread like wildfire once established. You can technically grow Himalayan balsam in your garden where it absolutely cannot escape, but moving it to the wild or allowing it to spread beyond your property boundaries is an offence enforced by DEFRA and Natural England. The problem is that explosive seed dispersal makes control almost impossible once established, and it's taken over waterways across Britain. What seemed like a harmless ornamental has become such a problem that volunteer groups spend entire weekends pulling it up before it seeds. If you've got it near any water or wild areas, remove every single plant before it flowers, or you'll be fighting it forever. Those round lily pad-like leaves might look attractive floating in your garden pond, but floating Pennywort is completely banned since 2014, illegal to grow, sell or import under invasive species regulations enforced by DEFRA. It's become one of Britain's most problematic invasive aquatic species, and once you see what it can do, you'll understand why. This plant grows at terrifying speed, up to 20 centimetres per day, and can double its mass in less than a week during growing season. It's clogging British waterways, preventing navigation, causing flooding and destroying native ecosystems wherever it establishes. The Environment Agency spends over £1 million annually trying to control it. Retailers face fines up to £5,000 for selling it. You cannot legally grow floating pennywort or allow it to spread from your property. If you find it in your pond, take immediate steps to eradicate it completely. The plant fragments easily, and every tiny piece can grow into a new infestation, which is why it spreads so aggressively since introduction. This aquatic plant with cheerful yellow flowers was marketed for garden ponds until authorities realised what a monster it becomes. Water primrose is included in the ban on selling invasive aquatic plants, illegal to trade, import or plant in gardens under DEFRA's 2013 regulations and the EU Invasive Alien Species Regulation. It forms thick floating mats that blanket ponds, impede navigation and outcompete native species, costing millions to clear from British waterways. Those innocent yellow blooms hide a plant that spreads aggressively, creating dense carpets that deplete oxygen and block sunlight, killing everything underneath. DEFRA enforces strict penalties for anyone caught selling or deliberately cultivating water primrose. If you've got existing specimens in your pond, you must prevent spread and dispose of them via landfill. Never dump cuttings in water bodies or natural areas. Garden centres cannot stock it, and enforcement officers monitor aquatic plant suppliers regularly. What starts as a decorative pond plant becomes an ecological disaster that destroys native wildlife habitats and renders water features useless within a single growing season. This delicate-looking submerged plant with feathery fronds was popular in ornamental ponds and aquariums until its destructive nature became apparent. Parrot's feather is banned from sale and illegal to plant under the 2014 aquatic plant ban, enforced by DEFRA under the Wildlife and Countryside Act 1981 and the Invasive Alien Species Order. Fines and potential prison terms apply to sellers caught stocking it. The plant produces emergent fronds that tangle in waterways, reduce oxygen levels, clog pumps, and displace native wildlife. Even small fragments can regenerate into full infestations, which is why it spreads so aggressively through British ponds and slow-moving rivers. Aquarists must not release aquarium cuttings into ponds or rivers under any circumstances. If you've inherited a pond containing parrot's feather, you're legally required to remove it completely and dispose of all plant material responsibly. The Environment Agency takes enforcement seriously. They've prosecuted garden centres and individuals for trading or spreading this invasive species. This innocent-looking succulent creeper is one of the 5 aquatic species whose sale was banned in 2014, illegal to trade or introduce into the wild under DEFRA's regulations. New Zealand Pygmyweed forms dense carpets in shallow water, outcompeting native pond flora and harming amphibians and invertebrates that Britain's ecosystems depend on. What makes this plant particularly dangerous is that even tiny fragments can regrow, turning a small problem into a complete infestation within weeks. DEFRA and Natural England enforce the ban through the Invasive Alien Species Regulation, and offenders risk fines up to £5,000. The plant was sold for years as Australian swamp stonecrop before anyone realised it was virtually indestructible once established. If you've got it in your pond, you must thoroughly clear every scrap and double bag all waste for landfill disposal. Never rinse nets or equipment in natural waterways after working with this plant. Garden centres caught selling it face prosecution, and enforcement officers regularly inspect aquatic plant suppliers to ensure compliance with the ban. This delicate floating fern might seem harmless drifting on your pond surface, but water fern is one of Britain's fastest growing aquatic nightmares. Sale and distribution have been prohibited since 2014, illegal to plant intentionally in the wild under DEFRA's ban on invasive aquatic plants. This floating fern doubles in mass every few days, forming thick mats that smother ponds and deprive fish of oxygen, creating dead zones where nothing can survive. It's regulated under the Wildlife and Countryside Act and the Invasive Alien Species Order, with enforcement by DEFRA taking it deadly seriously. What starts as a few innocent fronds becomes a suffocating blanket within a single summer, turning your pond into a stagnant, lifeless mess. Biological control using specialist weevils is sometimes deployed to manage outbreaks in larger water bodies. If you find water fern in your pond, remove every fragment immediately and dispose of it as controlled waste. Never dump it in drains, rivers, or compost heaps where fragments can spread. This submerged plant with dark green curling leaves looks harmless enough underwater, but curly waterweed is listed as a widely spread invasive alien plant, illegal to import, keep, breed, transport, or grow under regulations enforced by DEFRA and the Animal and Plant Health Agency. It quickly forms dense submerged mats that block light, foul boat propellers, and outcompete native aquatic plants that wildlife depends on. The plant is governed by the Invasive Alien Species Enforcement and Permitting Order 2019, and garden centres may not sell it under any circumstances. If you've got existing plants in private ponds, they should be replaced with non-invasive alternatives immediately. What makes curly waterweed particularly problematic is how rapidly it colonises new water bodies. A single fragment can establish a new population within weeks. The thick underwater carpets it creates starve native species of light and space, fundamentally altering pond ecosystems. Enforcement officers monitor aquatic plant suppliers and prosecute anyone caught trading this species. Dispose of all removed material as controlled waste, never in natural waterways. Those dramatic yellow flowers and massive leaves made American skunk cabbage popular in bog gardens, but it's now listed as a widely spread invasive alien species, illegal to import or cultivate deliberately under DEFRA's Invasive Alien Species Order. It spreads aggressively along streams and wetlands, with leaves over a metre wide that shade out native plants and fundamentally alter habitats that rare species depend on. Natural England can issue licences for research use, but ordinary gardeners cannot grow it legally. The plant is known for its foul odour when damaged, hence the name, but the real problem is its ecological impact. Once established near waterways, it forms dense colonies that crowd out native marsh marigolds, water ravens, and other British wetland flora. Removal requires careful disposal of thick rhizomes to prevent regrowth, as even small fragments can regenerate. If you've inherited a garden with American skunk cabbage near streams or ponds, you're required to prevent it spreading beyond your property boundaries. DEFRA enforcement takes violations seriously. This might shock people because it's everywhere in Britain, the common purple rhododendron that's naturalised across the country and grows in virtually every park and woodland. But it's actually a highly invasive, non-native species that's illegal to plant in the wild under Schedule 9 of the Wildlife and Countryside Act 1981. It's particularly devastating in Scotland and Wales, where it's taken over huge areas of moorland and woodland, creating impenetrable thickets that prevent any other plants from growing. The problem is so severe that conservation organisations spend millions on rhododendron clearance programmes every year. Scottish Natural Heritage alone dedicates enormous resources to eradicating it from sensitive habitats. What seems like a lovely flowering shrub is now recognised as one of Britain's worst invasive species. The dense shade it creates prevents regeneration of native trees, like oak and birch, fundamentally altering entire ecosystems. While you can keep existing garden specimens, planting new ones near wild areas, or allowing seed dispersal into woodlands, is an offence under EFRA regulations. Land managers can face enforcement action if they allow rhododendron to spread from their property into protected habitats or sites of special scientific interest. Let's tackle the obvious one that's not so obvious. Cannabis is completely illegal to grow in Britain under the Misuse of Drugs Act 1971, and this is one law that's actively enforced with no grey areas whatsoever. You cannot grow it for personal use. You cannot grow it as hemp. You cannot grow it medicinally without an extremely rare Home Office licence. And you cannot grow it just for the seeds. Every single cannabis plant in your greenhouse or garden is a criminal offence, and people are prosecuted for it regularly across the country. The confusion comes from the fact that CBD products are legal. Industrial hemp is grown commercially under licence, and medicinal cannabis is available by prescription, but none of that means you can grow your own. Police use helicopters with thermal imaging to detect cannabis grows, and they investigate tips from neighbours who spot distinctive plants or smell them flowering. What you might consider a couple of plants for personal use, the law treats as cultivation of a Class B drug, with penalties including unlimited fines and up to 14 years in prison for commercial cultivation. If you're thinking about growing cannabis at home, don't. It's one of the most reliably prosecuted gardening offences in Britain. The coca plant, the source of cocaine, looks unremarkable enough to pass for any tropical houseplant, but it's absolutely prohibited in Britain under the Misuse of Drugs Act 1971. You cannot legally possess coca seeds, grow coca plants, or even own one as a houseplant, regardless of your intentions. Some exotic plant collectors have tried to argue they're growing them as botanical curiosities, but the law doesn't care about your horticultural interests when it comes to coca plants. What makes this particularly relevant now is that online seed suppliers, often based abroad, will happily ship coca seeds to British addresses without mentioning that you'll be committing a serious offence by germinating them. The plant itself isn't even particularly attractive or useful for anything other than cocaine production, but the forbidden nature of it makes some collectors desperate to own one. Getting caught with a coca plant isn't like getting caught with ornamental poppies. This is serious Class A drug cultivation that could result in prosecution and imprisonment. Border Force and the Home Office actively monitor imports of coca seeds and plants, and customs seizures regularly result in investigation and prosecution. This glossy-leaved evergreen shrub looks unremarkable enough to pass for any ordinary houseplant, but Khat contains cathinone, a stimulant drug, and it became completely illegal to grow in Britain when it was classified under the Misuse of Drugs Act in 2014. This plant is culturally important in East Africa and Yemen, where chewing the fresh leaves is traditional, but in Britain both the plant and the leaves are Class C controlled substances. You cannot legally possess Khat seeds, grow Khat plants, or have any part of the plant on your property. The 2014 ban was controversial within Somali, Yemeni, and Ethiopian communities, where Khat has traditional significance, but the Home Office enforced it due to concerns about health impacts and links to organised crime. Police and Border Force actively enforce the ban, imports are seized, and people caught growing Khat face prosecution. Maximum penalties include up to 2 years in prison for possession and up to 14 years for supply or cultivation with intent. If you're from a community where Khat was traditionally used, understand that UK law makes no exceptions for cultural or religious practice. Here's where British law gets weird. Magic mushrooms containing psilocybin grow wild in fields and pastures across the country. You've probably walked past them countless times during countryside walks. But any deliberate action to cultivate them crosses into illegal territory under the Misuse of Drugs Act 1971. Interestingly, magic mushroom spores are legal to buy and possess because they don't contain psilocybin, but the moment you germinate those spores and grow mushrooms, you're committing a criminal offence. The weird legal situation is that psilocybin mushrooms are part of Britain's natural mycological flora, growing wild in sheep pastures, and there's nothing illegal about them appearing naturally, but creating a mushroom bed, inoculating substrates with spores, or taking any deliberate steps to cultivate them is illegal. People have been prosecuted for growing magic mushrooms, even in small quantities for personal use. The maximum penalty is life imprisonment for cultivation with intent to supply. Police and the Home Office distinguish between accidental wild occurrence and deliberate cultivation. If you're caught with growing kits, substrate, or evidence of deliberate propagation, prosecution will follow. If you liked this video, make sure to subscribe, and we see you next time.